It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
Off and running. Welcome in. Another edition of Musso at the Box. We're presented by Got Lit Light Installers, GotLitLights.com. LSU picks up their first midweek victory of the season, run ruling the Southern Jaguars on Tuesday afternoon, 13-1 in 7 innings. A game that was never competitive, controlled by LSU from the opening pitch to the last, but there's still plenty to look back at. You saw 3 pitchers make their season and 2 of them their LSU debuts in the ballgame. All did great things. Want to talk about it. You saw an absolute dominant performance from your starting lineup, as well as a few guys who came in, just as reserve players, picking up the bats and knocking the ball around a bit. You saw a first for Ethan Fry, which has been a long time coming. So we'll talk about what that means for him. And obviously LSU now, they'll hit the road on Wednesday evening. It's going to be about 28 degrees down on the Bayou in Thibodaux, but LSU set to face Nicholls for midweek game number 2, 6:30 on Wednesday. So we'll give you a brief thought on that game before we get out of here as well. Smash the like button if you have not already. Get subscribed up to the YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast app. Just search Musso at the Box. Hit subscribe, set your notifications as well, and take the show with you wherever you go. You can also follow on social media. Those handles scroll on the screen below. Okay, let's go ahead and dive right into it. I mean, really where to start other than Connor Ware. We had talked about you didn't see Ware, you didn't see Zach Cohen, you didn't see Gavin Guidry. Those were the 3 big ones. I mean, there's others that you didn't see this past weekend. Those are the 3 big ones. And you knew one of those 3, or I should say 2 of those 3 were going to get the starts in these midweek games. Well, Connor Ware drew the assignment against Southern on Tuesday, and he was good. 3 shutout for Connor Ware. Did have a walk, did have 2 punch outs, but I mean, he was nails in the first inning, 3 up, 3 down. In the second is where the walk happened, and then he bounced back in the third, another 3 up, 3 down with a strikeout. The strikeout in the third was fantastic. He fell behind in the count, 3-0, came back 3 straight strikes to retire Gregory looking, as a matter of fact, on the strikeout. You saw him mix the pitches. The fastball got up to 94, but mainly sat 91, 93. You saw the curveball. There's another breaking ball in there as well that you didn't see much, and even a changeup. So while you saw him really predominantly go fastball curve, there's some more left in there for Connor Ware. When you look at his outing as a whole, mentioned it, the 3 innings, the shutout, hitless baseball, that was fantastic. 40 pitches, 21 strikes. So the command wasn't quite as crisp as I've seen it just through scrimmages and things of that nature, but he was still plenty effective. He faced 1 over the minimum, right? So, I mean, plenty effective, even without his best command. The control was still there for Ware, and that's ultimately what was important. Nothing got away from him in that outing. Maybe there was a little bit of nerves, right? It's your first time on the mound at the box against a real opponent in front of a crowd. It's your debut. That can shake a few guys up. You've had all weekend to think about it, not pitching, and then you're getting the start, so you have all day to think about it leading up to the game. Those things can factor in. Overall, impressed with what we saw from Connor Ware and excited to see him take the next step forward. Albeit not necessarily having his best command, was still plenty efficient enough. 40 pitches through 3 innings. That's a really nice pace to work at, especially, again, facing 1 over the minimum. When we look at LSU offensively, they got it going immediately in the first inning. Chris Stanfield singles to the pitcher, advances to second on a throwing error, E1. That came in a full count. There's just so much to like about that at bat, and so much to like about Chris Stanfield in the leadoff spot. I know we talked about this in the preseason leading up when we looked at the scrimmages and how we said to him, he's your prototypical leadoff hitter. And that at bat to start this game against Southern really kind of wraps it all into one, doesn't it? Where he works the count full, so he sees 5 pitches, then on the 6th, just puts it in play. I mean, it wasn't just a scalding shot. Like, we've seen Chris Stanfield hit the ball way harder. It was a swinging bunt. But he worked the count, put the ball in play, and then with his speed getting down the line, forced the pitcher to hurry. Again, it's a lefty, so he falls off the mound, to third base, but he still to force him to hurry, and he airmails it down the line. So all the things that make Chris Stanfield a great leadoff hitter were on display in that at bat. Derek Curiel comes up, singles up the middle, scores Stanfield, and LSU is immediately on the board 1-0. And, ready to look for more in that situation. That top of the order has been really, really good. Curiel would also advance to second on a throwing error by the pitcher. He tried to pick him off, so he moves to second. Jared Jones comes up and singles through the left side of the infield. He actually hit it too hard. Otherwise, Curiel would have scored, but with runners at the corners. You had a balk that forced Curiel home and Jones to second. Ultimately, you would strand second and third in that inning, but you're off to a 2-0 start, and that was great. We head to the top of the fourth, and that's when we got our first look at Zach Cohen, and that was, you couldn't really ask for a better debut from him for LSU. I mean, I'd love y'all's thoughts on that. If you want to drop something in the comments or hit me up on Twitter, what you thought of Zach Cohen. Because I thought he was nails. 3 innings. He gave up 2 hits, an unearned run. We can get into that. It scored on a pass ball after a single up the middle and a bloop double into shallow right that just fell into no man's land. And it took a while for guys to get to it. Fell basically right on the line in shallow right field. So the guy was able to get to second base, and then you had the pass ball, and he scored. But unearned run, no walks, 3 strikeouts, 45 pitches, 31 strikes. It is everything that we have talked about. I've likened him so much to Eric Walker. And it's not just because he's the soft-throwing righty. It's because he's got nice stuff from the right side, up to 91 on the fastball, just like Eric Walker would have been. 4-pitch mix, just like Eric Walker. Similar build to Walker on the mound, right-handed, pounds the zone, plenty of strikes. You have to play great defense behind him. And a guy who has been a starter, that's what you saw. He faced 2 over the minimum and pounded the strikes out. His out distribution, 3 strikeouts, 3 flyouts, 3 groundouts, right? I mean, that's just who Zach Cohen is. And when you have this defense that you do behind him, I mean, Chris Stanfield made a great diving catch when needed. In this game, you saw Michael Braswell make a great play at third base. The defense that LSU has fits a guy like Zach Cohen, and I think you saw that on full display in this game against Southern. So A+ debut for him, even giving up the unearned run. It's a shame because after that pass ball, he came out and struck out the hitter on the very next pitch. So I mean that is disappointing, and he continually worked ahead in the count. I mean, you look at you look at him in that third inning, the fourth inning when he entered the game. Not 1 3-ball count. He ended up getting 2 first pitch outs later in his outing. Like Zach, A+, and looking forward to watching him as we go forward here in the season. That's a guy who I think can contribute in multiple ways, whether it be in the midweek, whether it be on the weekend. He's an innings eater, middle relief, all of those things. Was very, very pleased with Zach Cohen and his LSU debut. And then in the fourth inning is where we'll talk plenty of offense, and then we'll stop talking offense basically for the rest of the show because the game was decided there. Chris Stanfield walked. Curiel is hit. Jones is hit. You're looking at the bases loaded with nobody out. This was when Stewart came into the game for Prosper to start that inning and issues 3 free passes right off the jump. Danny Dickinson, we've talked about wanting to see him behind Jared Jones again. Well, he got that nod and gets ahead in the count 2-0 and promptly singles through the left side of the infield, driving in 2 runs. That gives him now 9 RBI on the season so far in 4 games. And then the big blow. So right there, that put LSU up 5-0. Ethan Fry steps in. The first pitch he sees launches, and I do mean launches, his first career home run in an LSU uniform. Hard to believe, first career home run, but remember, he's played sparingly his first 2 seasons and is finally getting more run. 382 feet to left, give you an idea how far it goes. Remember, it's 330 down the line at the box. 106 miles per hour off the bat. That put LSU up 8-0. It was awesome to see for Ethan Fry. It was part of a huge day. We'll get into that here after we finish this 4th inning talk. Josh Pearson would come up, follow up with a single. He would advance. After Braswell flies out, Stephen Milam, who had a great day, rips a triple. He had a single earlier in the game. Rips a triple into the right center field gap that scores Pearson. Curiel would single after 2 more walks with the bases loaded. So that drove in 2 more, part of a 3-for-3 day for Derek Curiel. And LSU ends up putting up 8 and gets it to 11-0. And at that point, the game was absolutely over. So a fantastic 4th inning there by LSU. And that would ultimately lead them on to their margin. 13-1 final score, 13 runs, 14 hits. That ties a season high in hits, and Southern committed 4 errors while LSU did not hit any. A couple big picture takeaways here, but first, Gotlit Light Installers, gotlitlights.com, expanding from just Christmas lights. Go check out Derek and his team, y'all. They do a fantastic job. Maybe you just upgraded your backyard, but you still need that lighting aspect added. You still need to illuminate your new backyard oasis. Gotlit Lights offers permanent landscape lighting now as part of their services. Doesn't have to just be your backyard. You want to illuminate the front of your house. Maybe you got some nice flower beds. Gotlit Lights can handle that. Maybe you want some lights up in the tree. Gotlit Lights can handle that. Private event, you're hosting it, maybe a company's anniversary party, maybe you and the missus or you and your significant other celebrating a big wedding anniversary, having a party, you need some temporary lightings, they got you covered there, whether it's weddings, engagement parties, any private event that you're hosting. Gotlit Lights. Remember, custom design, fits everything that you want. It is custom cut at Gotlit Lights, and if it's the temporary lighting, they'll install it, maintain it, take it down, and store it whenever you might need it for the next time. gotlitlights.com. Go there to get a quote. Work with my guy, Derek, and his team over there. They're fantastic when it comes to customer service, building relationships, all of those things, and let them know you heard it right here on Musso at the Box. Okay, big picture takeaways here from LSU's dominant win over Southern. We will continue offensive here, because you saw 7 of the 9 starters collect at least 1 hit. You saw Derek Curiel with a 3-for-3 day with 3 RBI, bringing his average up to 500 out of the 2-hole. He was absolutely fantastic. That freshman just continues to show why he was so highly sought after and why he is such a huge get for LSU on this baseball team. Chris Stanfield at the top of the order, a 2-for-2 day, walked as well. So he was on base 3 times, scored 3 times. We talked about how he's just the prototypical leadoff hitter. Jared Jones, once again, did not punch out in this ball game. So it's 4 straight games without a strikeout to start the season for Jones. Was 1-for-3, got the average up to 300. But you have to talk about these 2 guys in particular, Ethan Fry and Stephen Milam. Ethan Fry, Jay Johnson put him into the lineup early and often in the season, a season ago. And Fry was making the best of that opportunity until the injury happened with him sliding back into first base. And he was trying to play through that the rest of the year. And the production wasn't there. And you just couldn't really justify having him in there, especially after Ashton Larson emerges and Jake Brown emerges, right? All of those things kind of wrapped into one. But you've seen Ethan Fry early in this season. Got some ABs in week 1, ended up with a couple hits, in the first weekend, got a couple hits, but today, hitting his first career homer, finally showing off the power that we've all heard so much about now for 3 years, a 3-hit day, right, with 3 RBI, getting the average up to 500. That's massive, and that's going to earn Ethan Fry some more playing time. Jay Johnson talked after the game about how those guys, I should have pulled this cut, about how those guys who are competing for those spots in the outfield and the DH are taking this all in stride. And the rotation's been great. And he wants to, take Brown, Fry, Pearson, Josh Pearson, that is, Ashton Larson, and kind of use all of their talents and see if he can't create, 2 All-American players with their talent combined, right? Their talent makes up 2 All-American players. And right now, that's great. And with Ethan Fry hitting like that, with Ashton Larson hitting the way he has, Jake Brown's at 375. Josh Pearson today got in, got a start, was 1 for 3. So, I mean, he's at 286. You're well on your way to doing that. You will obviously have to pare that down when the competition ratchets up, and it'll be interesting to see who kind of separates themselves. This is a big step for Ethan Fry because, I mean, right now, through 4 games, and albeit small sample size, it's been Fry and Larson that you've really looked at and gone, whoa, okay, those guys have to pop in the bat right now. Because again, it wasn't just today for Fry. You saw him get a start over the weekend, and he responded with hits in that ball game. So it's a nice start to the season for Ethan Fry, and great to see him get off the schneid, man. Finally get that first career home run. It took way longer than any of us ever expected, but with sparse playing time and injuries, it was a long journey, but awesome to see him do that. And then the other one is Stephen Milam. And y'all, Stephen Milam was awesome in this ball game. 2 for 3, a single and a triple, scored a run, drove in a run. We had talked maybe about moving him around in the lineup, try to get him some different looks, maybe a few more guys on base for him where teams would be forced to pitch to him a little bit more, but they leave him in the 8 hole and he responds. And I think what was so huge, what was so good for Milam in this game was his first at bat, he lined one to center and it was caught. I mean, he hit it right at the center fielder. And that's what you had seen from him at the end of the weekend against Fort Wayne. He was starting to put the bat on the ball, just kept finding gloves. It's like, man, it has got to fall in. His second at bat, it did. Line drive up the middle, base hit. Third at bat was the triple. But what was great was each of those hits came from a different side of the plate. The single came from the right side. The triple came from the left side. So that tells you the legit switch hitter, okay, he is seeing the ball well. And that's important. So great to see Milam really bounce back after a rough opening weekend. He's up to 286. So all in all, fantastic performance for LSU. 14 hits. You saw a ball leave the yard. They took advantage of 4 errors and all the free passes. They were great. No complaints there. We talked about Cohen and about Connor Ware. Cade Woods closed out the game and looked incredible. Fastball is up to 95. Slider looked really good. The ball looked awesome coming out of his hands. And I know that's a guy that many people asked about a season ago, and the innings just weren't there for him. He wasn't performing at a level that they trusted putting him in a ball game. That's a great debut here in his second season at LSU. Shutout, perfect inning, 11 pitches, 8 strikes. Cade Woods was awesome. And you only use 3 pitchers. So all in all, you'd love to get a lot of guys work and not have to use the run rule. But all in all, you used 3 arms. That's huge on a 5-game week. So now you turn the page. You turn the page to Nicholls on Wednesday night. And that is going to be a very frigid night down there in Thibodaux, 28 degrees or so, which is going to be brutal to play in. The question everybody wants to know is who starts. I got to believe that's going to be Gavin Guidry at this point. I know we all view Guidry as a closer, and I think ultimately that could and probably will be the role that he settles into for this team, just because I believe in your starting rotation so much, and you're not going to waste Gavin Guidry starting midweek games. But they have stretched him out. Like, Gavin Guidry has the ability, hopefully this year, to go 3 innings or so if you need him to close out the game that way, or you need the game is in the tipping balance in the 6th, and you need Guidry to go in there, shut it down, and extend. He can do that. The start on Wednesday potentially for him is the avenue, to just kind of exercise that. I would imagine you see something very similar to what Connor Ware did. 3 innings, if you can get him to 40, 45 pitches, somewhere in that realm. What I'm most intrigued to see with Guidry is the velocity. Heard so much about him being more 93, 94 consistently, and that takes his game to a whole new level if that is the case, because we know about the hammer slider. But Guidry, before that, had really been 88, 90, maybe touch of 91. It's huge for LSU if he's consistently 93, 94 now, if he's taking that step in velo, but it's huge for him also in a money year, looking to the next level where, okay, you do that, now you do have a chance, a future at the next level as a pitcher, right? Remember, Guidry came here as a 2-way guy. You haven't seen bat much. I mean, he's kind of been pitcher only, right? PO'd. So that's going to be great to see. I'd be actually pretty shocked if he doesn't start. Either way, you're going to see Gavin Guidry in that game. And again, it would make sense. It's a veteran arm. You're going on the road against Nicholls. It will be a hostile environment, you hope. I mean, the cold weather might keep some people away, but it's going to be new, and to have a veteran guy in that spot, that's big. I think you also have a chance to see some of the freshman arms get to pitch in relief, like Maverick Rizzi, like Kason Evans, maybe Cooper Williams, guys you saw earlier in the weekend against Fort Wayne come back for that game. But you haven't seen Chandler Dorsey yet. That's a guy who still has to make his LSU debut. So, I mean, they have plenty of arms to go, and I'm intrigued to see who they use out of the pen and how Gavin Guidry looks making his season debut here in year 3 at LSU. The other thing is I love LSU going on the road. I mean, we're going to talk about this when they go to Frisco in a couple weeks, but this matters. It gets you out of your comfort zone. You know, I liked LSU going play at Lafayette, you know, in the fall, going to Biloxi and playing Samford in the fall. Just get them out of their comfort zone where they're not just at the box for, you know, since the season ends in June to when it starts in February. LSU's been great about getting out of their comfort zone, and this is just another another avenue to do that. Is the crowd going to be packed at Nicholls? I don't know. It normally would be for this. This makes their whole budget. Like, this is your year if you're Nicholls for baseball when LSU comes to town, but it's going to be 28 degrees. I don't blame anybody for wanting to stay home for that. That's going to be hell. Well, I mean, kind of, but frozen hell. So, but still, it's just uncomfortable. It's getting yourself, because you're going to be uncomfortable at points this season, and having all those freshmen who you expect to contribute, this could be a great first opportunity for them to experience something different, because there's going to come a time when you're on the road at Texas A&M, and you know you're on the road at Texas. It's going to be uncomfortable. This gets you there early. So I love it. And it'll be the same thing when they go face Dallas Baptist in Arlington, and then the tournament in Frisco in a couple weeks. It'll be the exact same thing. And you love to see it. So, and that'll be even better because they'll be in hotels. This is just a bus trip there and a bus trip back down to Thibodaux. But LSU Nicholls, that's next. Check mark for LSU versus Southern. Again, you looked like LSU, and that's important. It'll be interesting to see Wednesday night how you look with all the out of your comfort zone deal. You go there and dominate again. That's going to be telling, because I will say this: while Nicholls is not an SEC team, Nicholls is the best team that LSU will have faced up to this point in the season, and it'll be on the road. So we'll watch it. We'll recap it immediately following the game as well. Been fired up to do so. Smash the like if you have not already. Get subscribed. Follow me on social media. Be here next time for more. It's Musso at the Box, presented by Got Lit Light Installers.